Welcome to KLEAN Radio. Got a great night tonight. Several good guests will be joining us in a little bit. We also have Judah here tonight, who will be joining me shortly. We're going to be discussing several major issues relating to addiction and recovery. So come back and join us in about 30 seconds and 2 minutes, and we'll get the show rolling. Thanks. Welcome back to KLEAN Radio. Here with Judah. How's it going, Judah?
It's going. Did I just hear welcome back? Did we take a real...
Yeah, you actually missed the intro to the show, so, very professional. And you break your headphones?
Yes.
Well, it's been a little rough here at AM 830.
Yeah, they're going through changes. They got a U2 concert coming up here this week, and that's what all the trucks are outside for.
Oh, that's what all that is? I was like, it's a lot of people here for nothing going on.
You think maybe they'd give us a few tickets?
I don't know. I doubt it.
Oh, I said you'd think.
Oh, you'd think. Oh, right.
And you know what tonight are? The Tony Awards.
Oh, really? Great.
Yeah.
So we went up against the Grammys. We've gone up against...
the Emmys.
Emmys.
Probably the Oscars soon.
The Video Music Awards.
Right.
That wasn't so exciting. But, yeah. So, not so good. So what's up? We have a lot of cool stuff going on, actually, tonight. I'm kind of excited about it. I'm especially excited about our conversation on the way down.
Yes, that was a good conversation. And you have a bit of an issue with all the new taillights looking like Christmas lights.
That wasn't the conversation I was talking about. But yes, I do find it strange that so many tail lights are now the little Christmas lights.
But you know what's annoying? And we'll talk about this really quick. But it's like, I never noticed that the FedEx has an arrow sign.
Oh, you didn't?
No, but, it's one of those things. So now that I see it, now
you notice all the time.
Right, now I'm constantly going to be noticing people's tail lights or brake lights are Christmas lights.
Yeah.
So thank you kindly.
You're welcome.
But what we were actually talking about was Apple last week did something I was very, very impressed with, and they pulled down the app that shows people where the drunk driving stops are.
Right.
And I was very impressed by that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But don't you think Google apps will allow it because of free speech, and then,
this is, obviously we're not a political show, but, both you and I have a deep love for politics.
Right.
But this, sometimes common sense, sometimes it's okay to be good, and sometimes you have to make the right decisions.
It's true. And like that happened with NASCAR. Like NASCAR said they would never do well in the North.
Right.
And that they would have to change their whole thing because, it came off as kind of racist in the South.
Right.
And they said, no, we're going to move into the North, and if we lose sponsors, it's fine. And they ended up becoming larger than ever.
Right. It's like but it didn't work for hockey. But for NASCAR, it seemed to work. But I
don't know if it didn't work for hockey.
Well, I don't think anything's worked for hockey.
Yeah, hockey's
I don't really think it's...
it's a great Stanley Cup.
Yeah, you and the three other listeners and three other people out there are watching it. But no, I think it's we were talking about it, and I said people treat drunk driving now like people do wearing a condom. And
it's a public health issue.
Right, and it's sort of like, well,
not just drunk driving, but drunk driving stops.
Right.
Like, should the cops be allowed to, the police, be allowed to actually have drunk driving, stops? Well, no, I mean, there's no probable cause. You're just pulling people over and testing.
Well, I mean, I think isn't that what usually cops do?
Well, they're supposed to have probable cause.
But I mean, I can't think of how. I mean, I'm sure you've encountered this too, and I'm sure people out there have encountered this too. You're seeing a friend drink.
Right.
And you go to them, maybe you shouldn't drive home in the next hour.
Is that all you say?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah, well, because you don't want to come down and say you shouldn't drive. Hopefully, but you saying maybe would be them to say.
I must admit, I've had a lot of friends that I've tried to get not to drive, and they drive anyway.
Right, yeah. Because they're willing. It's you were saying before. There's something. The risk. You gave some some sort of like with managed risk or. Where risk management, right? And I think it's the same thing. It's no different than people that don't. It's like how many people don't use a condom, they get pregnant, or they catch something, and then afterwards they go, well, maybe now's a good time to start using it.
Right. Well, it's public health.
Public health,
Yeah.
right. But there's always constantly the people that even when they get busted for a drunk driving or, catch an STD or get pregnant will be like, the next time it's not going to happen again.
Well, like there's common sense things, like, or not, I shouldn't say common sense things. There's a scientific way of looking at everything, right?
Right.
Like you could look at sexually transmitted diseases and say, if we had condoms available for everybody, and we had open access to condoms, and we gave condoms out in school, then clearly there would be a reduction in transmission of sexually transmitted diseases. So from a public health standpoint, that's a good thing. But then you have people from a moral standpoint that say, no, I have an issue with that. I don't think you should be exposing people to condoms because you're endorsing sex.
Which is the same people going with your drunk driving thing,
Right.
would say, morally, should we be entrapping people?
Entrapping people. Or should we have applications that allow people to dodge?
Right.
So it's a tough decision. I mean, these are tough decisions that people make, and there's obviously multiple, variables that people make decisions based on: political, social, moral.
And I'm not trying to preach. I mean, obviously, as being a sober person, I've had my fair share of.
But as a drunk, I'm sure you would have loved that app.
I probably, you think, no, because the difference is because alcoholics wouldn't follow it. There's no alcohol.
They would be able to open it up.
Right. They're like, right. They're like,
more likely to get pulled over
right.
opening up your drunk stop.
Right, but there are people. But there are people that do that. There are people that tweet that stuff. There are people that. I gotta say,
that's where CB Radio's been doing it for years, right?
Yes.
Like Smokey Bear. And
yes,
like
but usually it's just warning people. It's just using other. It's warning other.
Did I just do like the CB Radio, and that was terrible.
Yes, he did. And people out there are like, "What is a CB radio?"
Yeah, right.
Why don't you start talking about the little ham radio you built as a child?
Yeah, I didn't do that.
With your erector set.
Thank you, Judah, but I didn't do that either.
You never had an erector set?
No, I didn't. I grew up in England. We didn't have erector sets. We had something else.
One second, was that what they were called?
Yeah, they were.
That's not like the porno version.
No,
of the
actually,
name.
I might have had one when I moved to America, but I was born in England, and we had like other things. I forget what they were called.
Legos, Tinker Toys.
No.
Anyways,
those are all American.
Anyways, that's just I do believe sometimes we're responsible. You have to take. I'm very happy with Apple's move. I think it's great that they're saying, not on our service, we can't prevent what other people are going to do, but we're going to take this app down. I don't know. Good move to Apple.
Yeah, I don't know. It gives me mixed feelings,
Because you're going into the political stuff.
Well, no, I'm more libertarian. I personally, as much as I oppose drunk driving, and I think it's one of the most horrendous things around, I'm kind of a freedom of speech person. So.
But so am I.
Right.
But why isn't the company's freedom of speech to say we want to take this app down?
They can.
Right.
Yeah. But you
can't stop.
But it's also open platform versus closed platform.
Right.
And, it gets you into the whole debate with, all the computer nerds would love this part. But I'm more of an open source guy than a closed source guy. But
that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
The number here is 877-8830-830, 877-8830-830. I do think it's a very interesting. I do think it's something very interesting. Just the whole drunk driving thing about how many people have died, how many people continually die. So.
Yeah, I mean, drunk driving is a serious problem, and you just go to any emergency room on a Saturday night, and it just reeks of alcohol. I mean, it's definitely the number one problem.
From people fighting,
getting fights, conflicts, family, domestic disputes. I mean, there's a lot of talk about how the temperance movement was terrible and prohibition was terrible, but if you look at the statistics, while violent crime did go up related to the organization and distribution of alcohol, the restriction of access to alcohol greatly reduced the effects and the negative effects of alcohol in the community. People actually don't like to talk about that. They don't like to talk about the fact that prohibition was actually extremely successful in terms of a public health perspective in reducing the rates of alcoholism.
So going to that question, then somebody might, obviously you know a lot more about this than I do. People constantly calling for the legalization of drugs.
Right.
So wouldn't that argument prove that?
It does. It proves that if you legalize drugs, you're going to have more drug users. Yeah. Yeah. But here's another sort of irony in my personality is that I believe we should legalize drugs. I also treat drug addiction how do you make all those things work? They don't necessarily work.
More
logically.
clients.
More clients. Yeah, no, that's not why.
But I was going to ask you that. We talk about this a lot. There are a lot of sober people that start treatment facilities, that start sober livings. What made you want to get into this field? Because I don't believe it's just because you were sober, obviously.
No, I mean, I got into it because I started working in mental health. I've been working in acute care mental health for over 20 years, I guess, right? Since 1991.
20 years.
Yeah, so 20 years, yeah. Actually, this is my 20th year. Wow.
Yeah. Mazel tov.
Yeah, right? I wish my marriages had made it the same way. But
that's not true. Then you would never have been married to Amy.
That's true.
See, so...
There you go. Strange things happen.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But anyway, so I was working in mental health, and I'd sort of gone on this quest to discover the extremes of human nature. Because, in school, and they teach you in college, they teach you, and even in graduate school, there's whole courses on what is human nature. And then they have aberrant behavior, deviant behavior, and whatever. And my sort of belief was that human nature is anything that a human being will do should be included in human nature.
Right.
And I think we found that to be more and more true as time has passed. So things that used to be considered highly deviant or strange, we've actually found are statistically normal and have been occurring as human behavior throughout the centuries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think a classic example is homosexuality on Gay Pride Day here in
Happy holidays
LA.
to you.
Yeah, happy holidays, yeah, right. So, I think if you really want to have an open mind and you want to look at what human nature is everything that human beings do. That doesn't mean that it's correct morally or it's correct in terms of a positive attribute of human nature. For example, pedophilia is statistically relevant, occurs, and has always been a part of human nature. Is it right? No. I mean, I don't think we're going to get too many people that are going to be calling up saying that pedophilia is a good thing, right?
We might have some NAMBLA fans out there.
I doubt it. And if they do, I don't think they'll be calling. No, not with the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
So anyway. But, there we are. That's where we are. So my whole thing with legalization of drugs is that I believe in dosage and regulation and then monitoring of usage. So
is that to get better statistics?
It's better statistics, and also a lot of the damage that we see done by drug abuse, not necessarily addiction, but drug abuse and then drug addiction, isn't necessarily done by the drug itself. It's done by how the drugs are cut, how they're distributed, how they're used, unsafe, unclean environments. And so people that do get caught up in the use and abuse of drugs often end up having sort of secondary opportunistic diseases that occur because of that drug use. So there's a whole secondary panoply of illnesses that happen because of drug use and abuse that wouldn't occur if you had more regulation and control over those substances.
Okay. Wow. So it's sort of like it's a no-win.
Yeah, people have been altering their consciousness from the beginning of time. I mean, even religions people in organized religion engage in whole ceremonies to alter their consciousness through, huge displays of ornate paintings and, big, long ceremonies with chanting that puts people in a dissociative state, and they get kind of a high out of it. It releases dopamine.
It's very hot in here, by the way.
In the studio? Yeah, it is a little hotter. Yeah.
And the number here is 877-8830-830. That's 877-8830-830. You're listening to KLEAN Radio. You could also find us at Facebook, KLEANradio.com.
Yeah. We've actually been getting a lot of likes.
A lot of likes.
I never thought I'd have to say something like that.
In France, they've banned that from national TV. Did you? I know you've been really busy, so I know you actually.
I've been flying around and.
It's funny when you're really busy. You don't really miss the big stories because you could catch a little glimpse, but you catch the really. You miss the.
So for the minutia of life,
yes.
we should have the minutia of life moment. This will be the section in our show.
Yes.
The minutia of life by Judah.
France has banned to bring you up to date. Right. France has banned that you can't say tweet us or follow us on Facebook.
Yeah, they're always banned. You can't say airport.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you have to say Airport International or some crap, whatever.
I know how much you love France. Don't worry.
I'm not a big fan.
I don't think we have a lot of French. I don't think we.
I went to Cannes and.
You just like saying you went to Cannes?
No, I went to Cannes and I got off the plane and there's all these I guess shorter French people. They were shorter than me. It's
Wow.
just a fact.
You must have loved
They
it.
were just really pushy. I couldn't believe it. Like, it was trying to get off the plane. I was just like, just calm down. It's like, you know.
Were you
At least in Houston, you just get squeezed to death. You know what I mean? Like, you know, because everybody's kind of large. But France was not a pleasant place for me.
No, so I'm sorry for your bad experiences. We'll have therapy about that later. That was almost our Barbara Walters moment. You almost cried about.
I did almost cry about having to go to Paris.
About having to go to Paris, but you know, so they banned that.
Yeah.
But you can like us here, and we can't say
us.
that. We're still allowed in America to say follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook.
I think we can do that.
And it's we ask fun questions all the time on our Facebook page about Andrew's history.
Yeah, that's true.
And
so we got a couple great guests tonight.
yes, we do.
We have LW,
one is one is late.
Yeah.
One is late.
LW, who's a sober companion.
Yes.
And he'll be joining us as soon as he can
Find his way here to
place.
the stadium.
Right. And then we have Brent Gilbert, who's a comedian.
And we'll bring him in first after the break.
Yeah.
And
we'll start talking about his moments of minutia.
Yes, and get his points of view on the whole. I'm actually always interested in these things because, you know, it's like a lot of times you get sober, you start thinking, well, don't put people in jail for using drugs. I'm actually sometimes interested in hearing other people's ideas on that have gotten
let's
sober.
get that when we come back.
Okay.
Listen to KLEAN Radio, and we'll be back in a couple minutes. The Judah dance. We're joined in the studio by Brent Gilbert. Hello, Brett. How are you?
I am awesome.
You don't know about the Judah dance, do you?
No, I would have guessed he was tweaking.
Yeah, right.
Or having a
clean, so I'm sure he's
or having
not.
a grand mal seizure.
Yeah, he does this thing where he dances like on the intros and outros, and actually Patrick, our camera guy, edited together a bunch of stuff of him dancing, and it's at Elton John's Tiny Dancer, and it's actually hilarious.
Nice.
We've gotten almost 100 views on YouTube.
Which is almost viral for us.
A whole 100. I didn't know I was in the room with this.
50 were his mother.
Yeah, that's exactly right. 20 were my sisters.
Oh, wow.
My nieces and nephews took up the other 30. So it pays to have 7 nieces and nephews.
It's like a parable.
And I got to give you props because you actually said his name right after the break.
Right. I didn't say it right before the break,
Right.
though. Yeah, I'm bad with names.
Is there a name for being bad with names?
It's called an idiot.
I didn't want to say it.
That name I know.
Self-absorption.
Self-absorption, yeah. Actually, it is a sign of narcissism, they say.
I'm watching a man out in the corner eat a banana. That's
Right?
quite fascinating.
It's like we're at
Yeah.
the zoo and camera.
Yeah, it is sort of fascinating to watch a man eat a banana.
Oh, wow, Judah. Okay, that's another one for the Gay Pride in West Hollywood.
Yeah, happy holidays to you, Brett.
Oh, thank you. Yes. I'm glad.
So you were in Ghost World.
Yeah.
What is
Wow.
Ghost
Back
World?
in the
What is
day.
Ghost World? Really?
Was that the one with Steve Buscemi?
Yes, it
Oh,
was.
okay.
Right?
Well done, sir. Well
And,
done.
And his
the-
nerdy record collection?
And Amber.
What were
no,
you in Ghost
Molly
World? I don't
Chapman.
remember you in the movie.
I was
Terrible thing to say to you.
Yeah, you know you
And
haven't
now
made it
he's
yet
going
when
to
you gotta,
start
like,
drinking
describe.
again, right? You got to describe what you actually did in the movie.
I was the guy trying to get Scarlett Johansson and Thor Birch to come to my band that was playing.
All right.
That was my moment.
Wow.
Yes.
Andrew's a
Wow.
huge fan of Ghost World.
That's a great movie.
Scarlett is now with Sean Penn.
Yeah.
So you had your shot, and
There it was.
that
Yeah.
was it, huh?
I didn't even rehearse with them. I rehearsed with their stand-ins.
Oh,
so
no.
Even
Even
my moment in the room with both of those two
Right.
was just like that. You know.
Wow.
It was still fun.
yeah, I met Scarlett Johansson at Chateau Marmont. I didn't know it was her, and I was having this conversation because she was with this other guy that I knew, and I'm talking to him, and so he goes, "Oh, and do you know?" And then he pointed, and she goes, "Hi, I'm Scarlett," and she like held up her hand. I was like, "Oh, this is weird."
Did you kiss it?
Yeah, right.
She had that voice. Oh,
I actually have.
Yeah,
I actually have a very similar. I also met her. She was dating an acquaintance that was in a band, and I didn't know who she was either.
She actually recorded in my recording studio too. She did a bunch of Tom Waits covers at when I had a recording studio.
Why would anybody cover Tom Waits?
Because it's a
Have
great
you heard
song.
her voice? It's very similar.
Right. But you know, maybe like cover John Waite. But why Tom Waite?
John Waite. Well, now we're really going back. Nobody's gonna know who John Waite is.
Missing you.
Yeah, that's only you would know that.
Okay, that's true.
Well, and I knew it.
Well, here's a good trivia question for
This
you.
is almost like Ghost World.
I have
it's
a
nerdy record talk.
Yeah, I have a.
God, we did.
I have a great.
You don't remember the song "Missing You"?
I
Oh, you're way
miss-
too young.
Missing You.
Yeah,
I know like an 80s version.
Yeah,
of it.
Yeah,
no, that
that's
was
what I'm
him.
talking
Yeah.
That was him?
Yeah.
Oh,
John
okay.
Waite. Yeah.
I didn't know who the artist was.
And then it was done by Tina Turner. But here's a good one. Who sings "One Night in Bangkok"?
Oh God.
That was from a play, wasn't it?
It was. I learned that last night. I went with my girlfriend to see The Hangover 2, and she actually knew that it was from a play, and she actually.
Something just happened.
Murray Head.
And yes, and the engineer just came in. It was like the sound of God coming
Right?
over. Murray Head. And it's like one of those. Yeah. So there you go.
There you go.
That's fascinating.
Fascinating stuff. So let's
One
learn
night
more.
in Bangkok in the world of myself.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah,
We got real talent in the city.
we do. And he was in Ghost World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Ghost World. Yeah.
Wild Things 2 as well. Straight to DVD.
What thing? Wild
Wild Things too.
A good friend of mine was in Wild Things too.
Really?
And he was
I
in the
didn't even know
studio.
there was a Wild Things 2.
Tony was
Yeah,
in
no,
it.
no one does.
Tony was.
Oh, Wild Things 3. I didn't even know that.
Tony,
either.
Oh my
Tony
God.
was in it.
Tony Dennison.
Was in Wild Things too.
What was his part?
He played the cop, the older. I think he played a cop. It's
You know,
been,
this is going to be awful, but I was in like the first 2 scenes of that movie, and then I didn't
Yeah.
watch the rest.
Isaiah Washington.
I turned it off. I was like, this is awful.
Isaiah
I
Washington.
was great, but this is awful.
I was great.
Isaiah Washington was in it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Too much good information.
So he was in what else were you in that we might recognize you from? Were you naked in that movie?
No, I was not,
No.
unfortunately.
That's why I don't recognize
yeah,
you.
yeah. No, I was in Bones and House. I did a couple appearances on that.
In what?
Bones.
Oh, it's a good show.
House, yeah.
Yeah. House.
The House is a great show. I got addicted to it about 1.5 years ago, where I had to buy every season.
Yeah, my wife loves House.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know why.
it's a good show.
I can always figure it out.
You're in competition with him. That's why.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Because that's you feel you
I
you
just,
and.
you know, and it's always something, I don't know. I just don't. It's the same format every show.
Well, yes, that's what shows are
Yeah,
formats.
every-
So,
That's why
show does that.
yeah, that's why they're called procedurals.
Yeah, I
I don't know if
know.
you watch Law and Order lately, but they always start the same.
Honestly,
Why are jokes all the same?
Law and
Shut up,
Order, I
punch,
really
shut
can't
up,
stand
punch.
that dong sound. Dong. That's the show, right? Law and Order that does that?
Yeah.
Like it goes bong on the way out.
Blung, blung.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
I call them the blung blung shows.
Right, I can't stand
Don't worry,
them.
you don't have them much longer. They're soon to be all
Oh,
off the air.
The sooner the better, I swear. It's killing me. My wife watches this stuff.
Oh, but
again.
they'll be in reruns till
Right.
the
Yeah,
end of time.
and now they have Law and Order UK.
Ugh.
And I tried watching it.
Really?
Yeah.
You
it's-
serious?
They have,
I'm not
and it's
surprised.
instead of like they say the magistrate. Instead of like the lawyers, they say
okay,
the
yes.
cops and the magistrate.
You have to call Scotland Yard instead of the Pope.
Very interesting
Okay.
radio.
know.
So Brett, tell us about yourself. Other than you've been in 2 really good movies, and 2 of my favorite TV shows,
And one really bad movie.
and one really.
But he was really good in it.
I was trying to say that was a really good movie. Okay, don't mess with Wild Things 2.
Yeah, right? He's going to have a fight break out.
I think Patrick might have shot that one.
So anyway, we are a show about addiction recovery,
Yes,
right? And we are now here
and having fun in recovery,
having fun on the radio in
living
recovery.
your life in recovery.
Yes,
right.
as the big book says, you don't get sober to be sad.
That's right.
That's,
Eh?
and we are not a glum lot.
There
Although
we go.
Judah is kind of glum.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. How can he be glum in that hat? I mean, look at that
It
hat.
makes me glum.
Yeah.
Look at that hat, radio listeners. Look at the hat.
Well, they can watch it on KLEANradio.com.
Yes.
They can see him in his hat. My mom, by the way, commented on your hat again.
Oh really?
Yeah, she's like, "What is Judah thinking with that hat?" I said it was free.
Yeah. Let's not go there.
It's an angel's yarmulke.
It is.
what
It
It's
is.
my angel's beanie. It's my
There you
angel's
go.
yarmulke. I feel, very Jewish here in Angel Stadium, in the middle of Orange
Do
County.
Jews believe in angels?
The Jews. That's actually a really good question.
It is
The
a good
Jews,
question.
Jews do not believe in angels.
They don't, right?
Really? You serious?
Yeah.
No.
I don't think
No?
so.
No, we Jews. Please don't quote me on this. I know I'm not the speaker.
I know.
For
Now your
all-
listeners are going to go on with it. Now the lights are going on.
For all people, I do not feel like being.
That's a good Google.
The problem is when
Do
your
Jews
name is
believe in-
Judah, people are constantly asking you
Everything about Jews.
everything about Jews. And first of all, not only that, every time they come back from a tri-state area, they go, "Have you ever eaten at Shmulka's Deli?" And I'm like, just because I'm Jewish, it doesn't mean I've eaten at every
Although
deli.
half the time you
Right.
can't answer.
Yeah. half the time I'm like, yes.
Right, yes, as a matter
Or
of
like
fact.
you say it in your head, yes, I have, but I'm not going to give them the satisfaction.
Yeah.
The pastrami is excellent.
Yes.
Gefilte fish is fantastic.
But I think it is important to talk about that. You're a comedian. You're an actor, how long have you been sober?
I have been sober 2 years and 6 months now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you were a comedian before? Or?
Yeah, I've been doing comedy for a little over 10, 11 years now.
Wow.
And I'm sure I've seen all that you've interviewed other comics here.
Yeah.
And yes, at every club, you feel good after you get off stage and you kill, and there are people there to help you feel good for the rest of the night. Man. Like, especially at the Comedy Store. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's like, I mean,
The Comedy Store's always been kind of.
I always say it's sort of like the Times Square of the '80s. You know, it's sort of like, it reminds me of one of those.
What, the Comedy Store?
Yeah, it reminds me of one of those like nudie
Sunset
playhouses
with the flashing lights.
With the flashing lights and the darkness
It could
inside.
be a strip club.
It
Let's
could
be
be
honest.
with the peep shows. You
Yeah.
have different rooms going on.
If owners changed hands, you wouldn't have to do much.
Yeah,
in terms
right,
of,
just
like,
add a
No,
pole.
you wouldn't have to do anything.
In fact, there are poles
Yeah.
in there actually.
Yeah.
There's like they're on the side, but
I mean, that's got to be
the
a
belly
hard,
room. I mean, come on, it's called the belly room
Yeah.
upstairs. Yeah.
It's got to be a hard place to. Is it hard doing comedy sober there?
It is because like
It's a hard room.
Well, I love the store. I
Yeah?
always have a good time on stage. But like back in the '80s, the place was cocaine flowing like wine. You know what I
Right.
mean? But now cocaine has been replaced by pot.
Right.
Pot is everywhere. As soon as the club opens till the time it closes at 2:00, you can just go behind the store, and there's going to be a group of comics with the audience members getting high.
There's a lot of users
smoking
that are
weed.
now pissed that you just tipped off all the cops.
I don't think it's been a secret.
Right.
Really,
It's
the
been a
truth.
secret, right?
Right, like they didn't know.
And everybody's got a license.
That's where the
now,
cops
right?
go to get weed.
Yeah, right.
That's their dealers. That's where the cops go to buy.
But here's like, so here's a question. It's like, you know, when you're in your childhood, when you're younger and you wanted to be a comic, you looked up to comics. Obviously, I'm not going to ask you which comics you looked up to, but did
Because
you?
that would be a good question.
Well, I mean, I think it would be a good question, but it's just one of those boring questions. But more
it's a
like,
typical question.
It is a typical question. I wanted, when I was younger, I wanted to work on Wall Street. I wanted to work in radio. But for
Wall Street, where did that come from?
I did work on Wall Street.
I know. Okay,
But
you
I-
said you
but
wanted
He
to.
was selling coffee.
Right, you're right. I didn't say. Right, I didn't exactly say what I did on Wall Street, but
You're
it's
right.
one of those things.
Delivery,
I was always
distribution.
like sort of like I always looked up to jobs where I knew decadence could happen, where I knew I could be whoever I wanted to be. You know, where you could drink. I thought, I could work in radio because drunks. You know, it just appeared to me that that was a profession that was good for that.
Just bring a flask to the studio and
Yeah.
put it in your coffee.
Right.
There you go.
Because that's constantly. I mean, so did that have anything? I understand. You know, with getting into comedy, was that it's sort of created. It's this lifestyle that is conducive to it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know a lot of comics that go on stage high and drunk like all the time, and like it always starts with like you're nervous when you first start out, so they just I'll just have one drink just to make it a little take the nerves away, and then of course as you progress through the years, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years of doing comedy, one drink becomes 2, then 3, and then you just drink it on stage, and and it just all goes to hell. But
There goes your career.
But I've been blessed in that because when I started comedy, when I started it taken seriously in San Francisco, it was like back in like '96, and they were like 3 main comics in San Francisco that I thought were just incredible, and they were they had a hard time drinking, and then they got sober, and I watched them get sober and then come back after like 3 months, and they weren't funny anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? Well, they were still like in that like recovery phase.
Right.
They haven't like completely cleaned out their system. You say
Right.
it usually takes a year or whatever. But it was just like I was just like, oh my god,
Right. Don't stop.
Don't
I don't want to do that.
Right.
So I've only been on stage
Well, I
drunk
think it
once in
changes.
my life.
It changes your comedy too, right? I mean, like what you talk about and what you think is funny sometimes changes.
Yeah. Well, and I noticed that like once comics get sober, that's all they talk about for like the first 6 months of their sobriety.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like half their act changes to that. You know what I
Right.
mean? And then they kind of like, oh wait, maybe I should talk about stuff that the audience, because the audience is drinking. You know what I mean?
Right.
Half the time they don't want to hear that.
Right. I'm feeling really bad drinking my 2-drink minimum right now.
But I have seen comics preach to the audience too, because
Right.
their brain hasn't gone like, hey, maybe we should make a joke about this instead.
Right.
But the comics are like audiences; they're okay with you like kind of preaching, but only if you tell your war stories.
Yeah, it has
You
to
know
be
what I mean?
Right.
self-deprecating.
If you don't go like
Stories.
Tracy Morgan on them. And I don't know if you saw that this
Oh, yeah,
weekend.
he went off on the
He
gays,
just-
right?
He
I
went
haven't
off on
seen
the
that
gays this
video.
weekend.
Oh, really?
my, no, not even like he didn't. He went off on their
Right.
holiday weekend, and
That's not a good thing.
But it was
He-
a bit though,
I mean,
wasn't it? He was on stage.
He was basically saying that if his son ever was gay, he'd kill him.
But isn't Tracy Morgan kind of? No?
No, are you adding Tracy Morgan? Are you saying Tracy Morgan's on the DL?
I don't know. I say
I don't
these
know.
things.
But no, he just went totally, yeah.
Yeah, I seen it. Some of my people I follow on Twitter was showing that, but I did not see the bit. I don't know if someone recorded it. I didn't hear it.
But that's what's amazing about comedy. You could almost like say anything. You know, if you're a comedian, you could pretty much say anything and go, "It was a bit."
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't work for that guy from Steinfeld with
Seinfeld.
Steinfeld.
Steinfeld. That's another joke.
He's not German. Steinfeld. And the number here is 877-830-830. It's 877-830-830. You're in the studio tonight with very funny Brett Gilbert from movies like Dollhouse, Wild Things 2.
Dollhouse.
Ghost World. Ghost World. Ghost World. Ghost World. I'm sorry. Ghost World.
What did Dollhouse?
At least I remember his name. Okay.
Wow.
Ghost World.
He was in MASH, the original movie.
This might be
Shows like House and Bones.
I like these credits. Give me some more.
Digitally,
He was
in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
He was actually the
Ark.
baby in Platoon. And
we got our next guest coming in here.
Yeah,
We're gonna
he's
take
downstairs.
a quick break. Yeah, we're gonna take a quick break, and LW will be here to join us with Brett and with Judah, who I guess is not gonna dance to this song because he's looking lazy.
This is a lazy dance song.
A lazy
Little
dance
Shannon
song.
Hoon.
Can I dance with you? Is that okay?
Who died from a heroin overdose
from heroin.
outside of Tipitina's
At
in
the
New
age of
Orleans.
27 years old.
Yeah, I was there that night. It's creepy.
Really?
Yeah, well, he died in the morning, but yeah. Anyway.
Wow, we gotta talk about that.
Yeah, that was really-
man.
You'll
I
like
wanna hear
that.
that story.
You might be death.
Yeah, right?
Well,
All
I'm with
right,
that.
we'll be back in a couple of minutes on Clean Radio.
With a K, KLEANRadio.com.
Clean Radio on Angels Radio AM 830 is presented by Clean Residential Treatment Center, a dynamic and professional addiction treatment facility.
Now it's back to Andrew and Judah.
Wow, Judah, the dance
For the block boy.
and the hat, you know.
It's a little thug.
I think people should log on to cleanradio.com and suggest a different type of hat for Judah.
Okay.
Right? 'Cause-
Where's Waldo hat?
Right?
He kind of looks like where's Waldo? Look at that.
Well, I
The
just
glasses
take
and everything.
you know what it is? I take abuse from the first guest,
Oh
no
my
matter who
God.
it is. I get abused by the first guest
Judah,
constantly.
you get abused
kept up
by
the
every
tradition.
guest.
That's true.
You get abused by everybody.
And you wanna know why?
You just
you're
have
like
that
the
face.
whipping-
It takes us
Because
there.
I'm secure. It's totally because I'm secure, because I could take it.
It's because you can take it. And
You
that,
can take
and
it.
what- That's what
There's
it is.
another connotation.
People can tell that. Yeah, people can tell that you can take
That's
it.
exactly right.
Oh
That
my
I'm
goodness.
confident and secure
Right. Yeah. You
in my Judalinity.
in your Judalinity.
Validity.
Wow.
Okay.
The Judah and his Judalinity.
Yes. Well, please.
This has got to be in the best quotes section,
Allow
right,
me-
Patrick? Right?
By the way,
Is that-
Patrick's got the funniest clips of you saying "Welcome Black,"
Welcome Black, really?
Welcome black.
but he was a little nervous because you do write the paychecks, and
That's right. I get to
and
dictate what
you
gets out of
have,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that word I
I'm
can't
getting
think
paid
of.
for this. I didn't
So
know.
we're back in the studio with
That's
Brett
awesome. This is a
Gilbert,
paid gig. Who knew?
star of Dollhouse, Predator,
Aliens.
Predator 3,
Predator 3. There's a
and
third.
one of
There's
the
a 2.
and one of the voices on Panda Express.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, lovely.
Have you done any cookie commercials?
Yeah, I've done over 40 actually.
40
wow.
commercials.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
goodness. What's probably the craziest one you've done?
I did Britney Spears Pepsi.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I ran during the Super Bowl. So I was like, yay.
Wow. I must have had a good royalty check.
Yes.
Did you actually
Yeah.
meet her?
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
So it wasn't like that movie you did where they
The Dollhouse?
The
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't like Dollhouse.
It wasn't like the Dollhouse thing.
How can you go from Ghost World to Dollhouse? There's just no connection at all.
Well, ghosts. Well, house.
No,
Doll-
it's
yeah,
just
Dollhouse.
I
nothing-
think we're talking
nothing-
about House and Bones.
Yeah,
Maybe
House
they
and Bones.
connect.
It went together.
House. Wow. Jeez.
Yeah.
Drinking had more effect than I
It
thought.
had quite a
It's
bit.
taking its toll.
Taking its toll.
Oh, the beans come off.
Right?
Yes.
Now we
That's
have-
what was happening. It was squishing
Right.
the blood to the.
I wasn't
was-
getting
it
enough.
was getting
And my hair is
oxygen.
just way too long.
Your hair. What is up with the hair? What are we doing with the hair? They say people once they get sober they have identity issues.
Yes, this is 13 years later.
So 13 years later, you still haven't figured out
I'm
the
coming
hair.
up on my
See, I
bar
just
mitzvah.
lost my hair, so then I didn't have to worry about it. So-
Well, I asked him last week. Well, you too. You got some wild hair, And I asked him if I shaved my head, would that be offensive to him? And I didn't want to offend him. And
No, I didn't want you to offend the rest of the world.
Well, if you did, I don't know if the viewers would tell you two apart. So maybe you should.
Oh yeah, we're so alike.
Yeah. You know, it's really funny. A few weeks ago, everybody thinks he's Jewish, but and that's not really funny though.
You just want me to be Jewish.
I do want you to be Jewish.
And I have a Jewish wife.
And you do have a Jewish wife.
So
But let's get back to the main topic at hand.
Right.
Which
do
is,
we have a main topic?
Which is,
tonight?
well, we were
It seems like
talking about it. I was very happy about Apple pulling down its app.
Right.
And I think a lot of times people, when they get sober, they like to, because they did their own certain things, they like to look at other situations and say, well, he was drinking, and excuse things. And thank God I never got a DUI, I never got any of those things. But I do believe it's okay to have a line where you believe in right or wrong, is what I'm trying to say. That just because somebody's an alcoholic, it doesn't excuse everything.
I agree with that. I love that saying, like, well, when you have a drunk a-hole and
Right.
who gets sober, all that's left is the a-hole.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, there's this second chance. America loves the redemption story, right?
Well, I don't think they're going to love it with Anthony Weiner, but I was actually, very interested in, because you label everything. I mean, if there's a name for it, you label it. But in Anthony
It's called a
Weiner's
definition.
But right.
It's not a label. It's called a definition.
But in
there's something called a dictionary, Judah. I'll buy you one. I'll download it to your
You're
iPhone.
going to actually give me your own dictionary, Andrew's dictionary. But with Anthony Weiner, and I wanted to say, I was asking him, is it sex addiction? Is it, and he goes, no.
He checked into rehab. You know about this whole story.
No, explain it.
So Anthony Weiner is his congressman.
Right.
He ended up texting or twittering. Sexting, like pictures of his chest and his underwear.
No, everything.
Like everything? Oh, it's
hardcore.
It's
X-rated.
And
who doesn't do that?
But he claimed he
Everyone does that.
he claimed that his Twitter account was hacked.
Then he said he lied.
And he went on like national TV for a week telling everybody it was hacked. And then finally he's like, oh no, actually,
that was me.
I did it all.
Yeah.
And so the Democrats have been asking him to resign.
Right.
He's refusing. So now he's taking.
Why should he? It's just this sex scandal.
Well, now he's because
he used
government.
one of the pictures is
whatever.
in the congressional gym.
Right.
That's
so anyway, but hold on
That's
a second.
awesome, is what that is.
That's right. It's like Bill
I'd
Clinton
love to
too.
stand naked at the presidential podium with the seal right there, just like, hey, look at my junk. That'd be awesome.
Truly the money shot.
That'd be in front of a bank.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
Boo.
Oh, yeah, right. Anyway, so he refused to resign. Instead, he's taking a leave of absence and going to a rehab.
Sex addiction.
Yeah.
Which seems to be the du jour thing.
Yeah,
of,
since Tiger Woods.
Right.
Tiger Woods.
Yeah, I think Dave Duchovny did it first.
Dave
Duchovny, right.
And someone outed him. He wasn't even he was like supposed to be secret, and it was like someone like in like the circle took a picture.
But who was like shocked about David Duchovny? I mean,
but also sex addiction. Really, the guy's like doing blow on TV every 5 minutes. I mean, come on.
Right. And Michael Douglas was, I think, probably the first, by the way. But one of the first to go to sex rehab. But again, and Andrew was, I really figured you would say, oh, he's definitely a sex addict or something, and you go, no, he's just crazy. I said he was a moron. Right. When did it? When did?
I would agree with that.
Right. I totally agree.
He's just ignorant and stupid.
Right.
I mean, who's a congressman and does something like that? I mean,
it's almost like he subconsciously wants to sabotage.
Well, I
his
think
career
people
by
do
doing
that. I think a lot of people can't handle the pressure of success. And they want to self-sabotage. I think that's very common.
Yeah.
And what better way than sending pictures of your...
you see with artists all the time. They get success and they just can't handle it and they lose it.
Oh yeah, sure. Especially with drugs, they just dive into that. Yeah, that's like the easiest one.
Very common.
Yeah, so I mean,
but it's so easy to trace a phone. You know what I mean?
That was
technology.
So
right.
That was
right. The government. I mean, the FBI. They already knew what had happened before. Like they've probably been monitoring for like months.
But again,
they were like, "Well, look at this one."
Again, think about the narcissism of the ego that thought he could actually
lie and get away with it.
He could just will.
Right.
His way out of this.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Nothing else got hacked that night.
I'm not even sure it's mine. Really?
Yeah, I know. Right. I mean, just the answers he gave. But again, we constantly talk about what is narcissism.
Yeah, narcissism, but also the ability to tell the truth. I mean, someone who constantly is pathologically lying, that's a very common sort of personality trait that tends to lead to addiction.
And it's the perfect profession for that.
Or is part of addiction, someone that is addicted. And people that do have compulsive sexual behavior, where they just feel compelled to engage in sexual behavior when it totally ruins their lives. I'm talking about people that, are engaging in compulsive sexual behavior, compulsive masturbation, compulsive sex, 8, 9, 10 times a day. And
I did that after when I got sober. I traded
Really?
one for the other. Well, I wasn't like I wasn't like, but when you like,
You had nothing else to do.
Like internet porn was just like, yeah.
Right.
It's just
Hey,
like,
well, that's
I'm
a
not
good-
drinking no more. I'm not doing meth. So
I think that's a huge thing to talk about. I think that's a very important thing to talk about, is because a lot of times when you do get sober,
switching addictions.
you have nothing. You spend so much time and work on your addiction.
Well, and some of these things go together now. I
Yeah.
mean, meth obviously is connected, has a huge connection to porn.
I
Porn
didn't
and
know
meth,
that.
Yeah, I mean, meth is highly sexually stimulating. People stay awake for days at a time, masturbating to porn.
Is that what that was? I didn't know that. I didn't know meth did that to me.
But do you think when people?
Wow, I thought I was just nuts.
But do you think when people get sober, when most of the meth heads get sober, does the porn addiction still stay there? Or was that just a sub thing of being up for days, the deviance that comes out in it?
I think if you ask most people that have been addicted to meth, they'll say how they express their sexuality is different when they're using meth than when they're not. So it's much more compulsive. It's going on for longer periods of time, and they engage in riskier behavior.
Right. But I just found also when I got sober, I had a lot more time.
Yes.
There was just...
You're not driving downtown looking for Tony.
Right. You're right. Right. You're not planning...
the extra couple hours.
Right. There's not
Now
this...
you are, but it's for a different thing.
There's not this whole day planning of how I'm going to get high, of how I'm going to get money for it, of this whole... using and drinking, when you're in active addiction, alcoholism, it is a job.
Right.
And it's almost like when you get sober, you have a lot of hours to replace.
You still do, Judah.
Yes, I still do. You're so kind to me, Andrew.
Well, it's the minutia moment.
Yes.
What other minutia news do you have?
Menudo moment?
What else? Menudo is back.
I actually know the guys that bought the rights to Menudo.
Really?
Yeah, they've been trying to make a Menudo comeback.
I
bet
More
they will.
useless information.
I thought Menudo never stopped. I thought there's always like a
No,
younger...
no.
Yeah, I thought they were
Yeah,
just recycling.
like
They
they
just
like,
came out
take-
again like about 2 years ago. Yeah, but it was this big thing. They bought the rights again and traded.
Well, one thing's for sure, in 10 years, those kids will all be on meth.
Yeah, right.
Right.
It's usually what happens with boy bands.
Living at Ricky Martin's
stars,
living at
yeah.
Ricky Martin's house.
Yeah.
Has there been a child star that's like transitioned well?
Ron Howard.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
He's like the poster. Like,
Right.
everybody always says
Right.
it's like he's the one.
Right.
He's like the one guy that won the horse race.
Oh,
and actually,
he's like the grandmother that
Yeah.
drank and smoked until
Yeah,
she was
he's-
90 and never
yeah.
got
right.
cancer.
He's like-
never, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Then everyone points out that one.
Yeah, he's like-
oh, I
he's-
can do it. They
he-
did it.
I don't know.
mean-
It's not over yet.
But I mean, yeah, right.
There's still time.
But I mean, think about it. And it's not like it was a new thing. Think about our gang. I mean, those guys were a bunch of pervs. You had Robert Blake.
Yeah.
That like, whatever.
That didn't end well.
You had Alfalfa that supposedly was like out of his mind.
Wow, what happened to Alfalfa?
He was like, he got killed, he got stabbed. I mean, he's talking about
In
like
prison?
No, on the street. He was a crazy kid. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do you? I don't know. I saw Dickie Roberts, child star. I could understand why they have a lot of problems growing up.
Well, I still see it with not just children, but adult stars who are highly enmeshed with their parents, and their parents, like Lindsay Lohan's a good example, where the mother is riding the coattails of her daughter.
Yeah. She's a partier too. Or
Yeah.
No boundaries.
No
No
boundaries.
boundaries.
Total enmeshment. Pushing the daughter into continue to engage in the same behavior so that they can ride along.
Well, I was shocked. I was watching this. I was watching Discovery Channel the other day, and they still have this show on the air about these little debutantes. The little John Bonets. And I would have figured after that happened,
Right.
like that would be the death of like dressing up these like 3-year-old girls to make them look,
Oh no, that's still the mother trying to
It's
live through
insane.
their child.
It's I was like, after Jean Bonnet, you'd think that would first of all, you'd hope nobody would ever name their kid that again.
Oh, the Catholic Church is doing well.
Yes.
Oh man,
But again, it's like it's one
I
of
love
those.
their policy of moving priests to another
yeah, right.
parish just
No
to shut them
problem.
up.
It's the priest relocation program.
The priestly location. No, yeah, I always thought about that. Like What if a manager at McDonald's got caught like defecating into the fry machine? And what would they do?
Yeah, right. You don't move him to the McDonald's in Orange County.
Really? When he just continues to do work.
They did.
Right. Yeah. It's like off to Popeyes.
You're like, well, the fries taste different this week. I don't know why. But.
Well, they did have that one guy that got caught having sex with. I can't believe I'm going to say this on the radio, but he had sex with a seal at SeaWorld in Florida. I can't believe I'm telling
That's a
this story.
South Park episode.
Right? No. This is actually happened.
This is your minutia moment.
It's a true story.
This is your minutia moment.
And they fired him. And they caught him like 8 months later up at the one in Toronto.
Because how many SEAL trainers are there? It's not exactly like it's like some like.
How did that not go viral in the SEAL?
It's not like it was the guy that cleaned out the SEAL's tank. It was the trainer. So the trainers, he
was very attached to his work.
Yes, he was.
I wonder if management knew that and they just overlooked it because he's like the amazing SEAL trainer.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
He had special incentives.
That's exactly right. You think the Siegfried and Roy thing that was the first time he had his head in the tiger's mouth? It was the one time that It was the one time that the tiger finally decided to bite down on him.
Wow.
But
yeah, you think you could have? You think you could have taught him no teeth, right?
Yes. Oh my God!
What kind of trainer? What kind of trainer can't train no teeth?
This is a friendly show, okay?
Right?
And this is about fun and sobriety.
Yeah, this might be our last show.
But
this episode's gonna be titled "No Teeth."
Yeah, right.
No, but you know what? And we talk about this, and we talk about this afterwards, and I constantly say laughter. This is what sobriety is about. It's about living your life. It's about having fun. And it's not just about going to meetings. It's not just about reading some book. Those are all great. But it's about having fun.
Yeah, it's about getting your life back.
It's about, right.
And tell me if I'm wrong, but the best meetings are the ones where they have a speaker who's funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They actually make light.
I was in shock when I came out of here and I heard funny speakers.
We have a comic that's pro comedy.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it is great.
I went to a meeting just last night because I did the Club 202 right here in Anaheim because they have a meeting and then they have a comedy show afterwards. So I got there early on purpose to stay for the meeting. And the speaker was just like so depressed that the whole room got depressed just listening. I was like, come on, you're the speaker, say something inspirational.
Well, I heard somebody say something great one time. They go, he passed away, his name was Scott Redman, just an amazing speaker, just an amazing writer. He wrote this book, I believe it was called Real Men Don't Eat Quiche. And
I remember that book.
It was a bestseller. And he said, every time you get up to speak.
It was in the 80s.
Yeah. Wow. And every time you get up to speak, every time you say something in any 12-step group, it's like your one vote. It's like everybody gets one vote, and he goes like, make it count. And when you get up to speak, it doesn't really matter. Just that's your vote to show people that this works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And when you get up there, we are. I know we have to take a break.
We're going out at the top of the hour here. So
but
now.
Yes.
Now. I'm cutting off your story. I don't care.
You don't really care. I know you don't care.
I'm just going to be like that with you from now on.
Yes.
Oh, Mom and Dad are fighting again. Oh.
We actually, me and Andrew and I are in love. And the voice of God came over again in our head speaker and said, 1 minute.
Right. So give us our plugs. Come on.
Yes. You are listening to KLEAN Radio. That's KLEAN with a K. Our number here is 877-830-830. We're in the studio with the very talented star of Witness, Brett Gilbert. And
I was the boy.
He was the boy.
I was boy in the bathroom.
He was actually Lucas Haas's stand-in. And Andrew Spanswick and I, and you're listening to KLEAN Radio. That's KLEAN with a K. We'll see you in a minute.
And roll her eyes right up to heaven. Make like I just wasn't there. And she used to fall down a lot. That girl was always falling again and again. I used to something
All right, here we are back at KLEAN Radio.
You don't sound very excited.
Wow.
I want to hear a little.
What kind
We're
of
back at KLEAN Radio. Yeah.
Back at KLEAN Radio here at AM 830.
And we're in the studio now with a new guest.
We are.
Who's really going for who's going for a lot of anonymity tonight. He doesn't want his face on camera.
You grew up in the hood. Get it? Hood.
Right.
Get it?
Our guest and I actually lived in the same building for 5 years.
Yes.
We saw each other about 3 times.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that the most
romantic interludes in the elevator.
Yes. It was the craziest building. It was a crazy building.
Wow, where
Where was this?
Live there.
This was on Fuller and Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah.
I don't want to live
The
there
old
now.
St. James.
Yeah. It's the old
Yeah.
St. James, right?
Yeah, and I lived there twice, and I've met dozens of people who said they've lived there or partied there. It was pretty, pretty amazing. Oh, yeah, in the 80s, that place on Fuller, yeah. Oh.
I live somewhere kind of similar. I live in a building in West Hollywood where Heidi Fleiss used to keep all her call girls, like the first
That's
3
right.
floors. Yeah, and they have a valet there.
So that's
it was
how you
like-
got the syphilis.
When I when I first moved there,
It was
they,
airborne.
At 9 o'clock,
opening the
door.
You used a door handle.
yeah, everything right. They had to
I got it
totally
again.
anesthetize the whole building.
You joke, but it was crazy. They had some Russian mobsters to live in the building too, and they like this drug deal went bad, and like all these $100 bills came floating down out of the air. Like they threw all the
Really?
money out the window. Yeah, everybody was like
Nice.
running around picking up
It
money.
was raining money in Hollywood.
Yeah, West
They
Hollywood.
made it rain.
So let's welcome our guest in, who drove all the way from Palm Springs.
Right, that's a long drive.
Nice.
Huh?
It was quite a drive. I got lost twice. I'm like an old man now. I'm squinting at the navigations, telling me go bear right, but there's no place to bear. And,
Yeah.
It meant get naked.
Oh, okay.
And
At a gay bar.
yes,
Right.
During Bear Night.
Wow, where do you go from there?
I don't know.
Why did it have to be naked?
Yes.
I just got lost. That's all.
Now, how great would that be, like on Gay Pride weekend? Like they like hacked.
Right.
The head of the gay council hacked like
Everybody's
the
GPS.
Everybody's GPS.
And how crazy would it be that everybody would be so stupid they'd follow it?
Yeah.
And they actually turned gay.
Yes.
Right.
And the voice.
Right, all
the
at the
voice
same
changed.
time. And they were all bears.
Okay. Okay. We're gonna get in a lot of
Yeah,
trouble.
right. This show should. This one we're just gonna have to not put on the.
Yeah,
internet,
it's
'cause
we're gonna
Great,
have to.
great.
We're gonna have
of
to-
course.
And of course, when
I'm glad
L-Dub
I
comes
rushed- I'm
on.
glad I rushed here.
You know,
So L-Dub, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Right. I'm 47 years old. I grew up in Hollywood, California.
You really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's see what else.
I don't think I've ever met
I
anyone
don't
who
think that's
actually
it.
grew
That
up
was
in
like a
Hollywood.
really
Amy?
really, by the way. But yeah, that's pretty
You
amazing.
went to Hollywood High?
Fairfax.
Fairfax? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you and the Chili Pepper.
Yeah. And even the kid that died, what's his name? Jamie's brother. The first kid that died, that OD, that was in the Peppers. The really
Oh,
big-
Hillel?
Yes.
Slovak.
Yeah. I was in Jamie Slovak's grade, his younger brother. We hung out. There were a few famous people who hung out. I was usually across the street at the Pizza Parlor playing Asteroids and selling dime bags. And,
I was a Defender fanatic.
Yeah, Defender.
Oh, Tempest.
I don't know.
Tempest.
Okay, I'm really lost in
Game.
geekdom here. What are you? What's Defender?
You don't know what Defender is?
No.
It's on Dakar.
Wow.
You can't stop me.
Okay, so you went to Hollywood High, Fairfax.
Wherever, yeah, one of those schools. I also went to Hamilton, and then I was actually locked up from 17 to 18. I'd run away at 16 and just had been on the streets and gotten into all kinds of trouble, stealing cars, breaking into homes, and selling drugs and doing lots of drugs. And I got clean and sober at 21, and that lasted about 5.5 years, and I left the program and went to Europe, and I didn't have any more program, and I relapsed, and by the grace of God, I made it back, and 6 months later, and I got sober again in 1992.
Wow.
So
Coming up on 20.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, man. That's
Wow.
amazing.
Thanks a lot.
Right?
20 years.
I'm always amazed at guys that have that many years.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's like there's so many temptations at 2, and you're like,
Right?
And what else you want to know? Addiction, pretty much ravages my family.
I didn't know that.
And yeah, it's there's several people in jail or dead. The whole family's fractured. Nobody really talks to each other, and I don't know what I don't want to talk
Are
about.
you the only sober one? Or?
My father's sober. My father's sober almost 30 years,
Wow.
and he lives in West LA, and he's a real estate guy.
Are you guys close?
We're not close. We're working on it.
Yeah.
We're working on something.
Something, a little something,
Yeah,
something.
I mean, the groundwork wasn't really laid laid out. So we're trying to patch something together
Yeah.
later on. You know.
That's good.
Everything in time. I mean, that's you know, that's something very cool to talk about in sobriety, is how the family does, you know, can mend.
Well, they talk about alcoholism being a family illness,
Yeah.
right?
But
And,
not talked about that enough.
Nah.
I think it's important. The family afterwards, that chapter in the book, and the you know,
Well,
and the,
if I might jump in there, it was rather confusing in the beginning because I thought I was led to believe that once you got sober, everything was supposed to be all right, and that sobriety and love conquer everything, and that wasn't my experience.
Yeah. Right.
And I continue to interact with my family, several of whom are in the narcotics trade, and they're alcoholics and bad boundaries, and they're sick. They're sick people, and I jump right back into it because they're family, and they're the only people that I ever knew to hang out with, and it wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for me, and it brought up a lot of desire to relapse and a lot of bad feelings inside me, and it took a long time to realize that I didn't have to interact with them, and things weren't all better just because I stopped drinking.
right.
The basic formation in family with, you know, trauma and shame are very, very hard feelings to overcome and deal with. I mean, we see that so much with addiction, especially the shame part, you know, especially related to your family. It's something you're connected to. You can't just shed it like something else. It seems to always be very visceral. And we see that being a big trigger for people, and people that even get sober and they feel great for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden all this stuff comes back about their family, and
Right.
you know, I mean, you can have the dumbest memories of when you're a kid. They can be over nothing, but to you they can be so filled with emotion and beliefs, you know.
I mean, it's something that a lot of people don't talk. Both of us got sober at a fairly young age. Obviously, you did too, Brett. And you know, when you read certain literature, it doesn't really talk about to the kids, you know, because a lot of it was founded by men in their 40s that were married with kids.
And that book was written like 50 years ago. Or something, like
But it's
60s.
still amazingly applicable. But in a sense, it doesn't talk about, you know, latchkey kids. It doesn't talk about, you know, families, you know, kids that are getting sober young.
Well, it doesn't talk about kids who were raised in traumatic environments where there's, you know, severe abuse or neglect. I mean, as down and dirty as Bill W. got, he was able to, you know, go to school and get a job. I never did. You know, I ran away. I was on the streets.
Makes two of us.
And just got locked up, and I never hoped to do anything but you know, stay loaded.
Right. I lived in New Orleans for 10 years, and you know, people would say to me, I actually got in a huge fight, believe it or not.
I believe it.
It was a verbal fight, obviously, but with a bunch of conservatives here. You're going to love this, Judah. It's your people. So I was... gypsies? Gypsies, right. I was sitting at a table, and this woman was at the table. It was a bunch of Cornell alumni, and I was in Ithaca, and we was visiting, and so all these people were sitting around. They're all former Cornell graduates. And this one girl who I knew, woman, had gone off, and she was working for the Department of Education under George Bush Sr. At the time. And so I asked her what she did, and she goes, "Oh, I work for the Department of Education." I said, "Well, that's great. I know your title now, but what do you actually do?" She goes, "As little as possible." I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, my job is to do as little as possible because we don't really believe in the Department of Education under the Bush administration. We're trying to get rid of it. So my job is to do as little as possible." And I'm like, "Wow." I said, I go, "You don't think that there's like a reason that department, you know, exists?" And she goes, "Yeah, it exists for if there's an emergency and a need for the federal government to intervene."
They think they're FEMA.
Wait, right. In the states, if there's a problem with education. I said, "You know, I live in New Orleans, and 52% of the population can only read at a 4th grade level." I go, "Don't you think maybe you should get up and do something?" You know?
Yeah, that sounds like an emergency.
right. And she's like, "No." And I'm just like, wow. And I was drinking at the time. I got a little more animated, and the rest of the story will have to be on my blog.
And it was also a better story at that point.
You got it right. But I was shocked. I was just like, you know, come on. I mean, really. You know, it's like there's so many people. There's this belief that sort of there's some things where there are people that come in, people don't have the same chances. You can't say that everybody in America has the same equal rights when you come in so unprepared, right? I mean, if you're coming into school and you don't have the basis to go into a school, first of all, that's safe. I mean, in New Orleans, the schools, it's 105 degrees outside, and they don't have air conditioning, and the windows are broken.
Well, I think also what you're talking about is when the family structure is decimated.
Yeah.
How can you, I mean, I could pick out, I could walk into any elementary school, and I always say this, and obviously it's a generalization, but I could almost walk into any class and see what kid or kids are going to be the messed up ones.
Right.
And it's always the kid that's looking out the window in 3rd grade daydreaming. It's always that kid that's not looking at the board, because that was me.
Or they're Einstein.
Or but, I mean, I don't know if that was you, Aldub.
Or they need glasses.
When I was in elementary school, I mean, this is just me. The family situation obviously wasn't great, but I would go into school, and that would be my, I would just stare out the windows. I couldn't handle school. I wasn't, there was no...
That's why we're in a studio with no windows.
That's we actually have you lie.
Right.
People are going to see this and go, Andrew, that was unfair.
It was unfair. It was low.
There's two different approaches you're talking about. It seems like one thing is you're talking about the essence of where the child comes from and working on building families and core values and structure, but also, I mean, that doesn't help the people who exist right now who are already out of school,
right.
Who are adults, and that's kind of a lot of what AA and 12-step programs come in is like, what are we going to do about it now?
Right.
You're a mess. You're a fucking mess, and
regular radio. It's okay.
That's okay. We got it.
We got 7 seconds to catch that.
Good job, engineer.
And
but the video will have it.
It will.
For all you.
And,
the NC-17 version on the net.
yeah. Woo. What are we going to do about it? And 12 Steps teaches you how to deal with that now. And
well, I think it's definitely true. I think that the guy that started Boys Town, he had given up on working with adult alcoholics. He felt that there was no hope for them, and so he started Boys Town, because the idea was that he would start working with kids that had been abandoned by their families, and he would start working with them young, because he had tried working with chronic late-stage alcoholics with little success.
Right.
So there's, it's interesting to see how different people have had different approaches to dealing with the problem. Truth of the matter is, all of these things have to be dealt with by society. The ramifications of, the decimation of our family structures, the problems with late-stage addiction and people that are addicted at this point, the ongoing problems with drug abuse, binge drinking, binge drug using, drinking and driving, using drugs.
It's again like what we were talking about at the beginning of the show.
Oh.
We were talking about Apple. I don't know if you were listening to us as you were driving in. Probably not. But
I was listening to you guys.
Oh, you were. So
absolutely, I'm an avid fan.
Andrew and I are both human lie detectors, and you lie. We were talking about how Apple decided to pull down this app they have that shows checkpoints for drunk drivers.
I heard about it.
Yes.
They were asked to pull it down. They didn't do it out of the goodness of their heart.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh,
but
they ruined your Apple.
No, because they decided to pull it down. They didn't have to.
Oh, okay.
They decided to, and it's actually Harry Reid is fighting it in the Senate right now to do that with everybody. He's trying to pass a legislation bill that, and it's good. I know nobody here follows politics, so I could be lying my butt off.
Certainly not Harry Reid. I'm not going to follow Harry.
No,
Reid.
well, it is Harry, right? But it is Harry Reid that has decided. And I was saying, I think it's a great thing that they shouldn't have these checkpoints. That they should have these checkpoints, but that it should be not allowed that people are able to post.
Well, it's supposed to be a surprise. You know
Yes.
what I mean? That's the whole point of it.
Right.
But I would like that app myself, just so I can get home sooner.
Right.
I'm not drinking and driving.
Yeah.
I just want to know.
I have to wait in line with a
of
bunch of drunk drivers.
The whole thing about the nanny state, though, and making rules to deal with people who are out of control and can't handle themselves, and then rescuing them and nursing them back to health and throwing them back into society and letting them do it again, I think is worthy of debate as well.
I agree.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier, that I'm not really sort of into this whole thing. I mean, I think that there is a degree of personal responsibility, and I also think that people need to learn how to get and learn what's right and wrong on their own. You either get it or you don't, right?
Develop a sense of self-preservation,
right?
And not. I don't know. I have some pretty outrageous views about it. I don't know.
It's okay. So does Andrew. You're in a studio with a conservative. A monarchist.
A monarch.
And
Is that why he's wearing a crown?
Yes.
Is that the crown?
so I got my turkey leg.
We're actually, it's 11:16, and we're in the studio tonight with great sober companion to all, L-Dub. And
We're going to hear his radical views.
yeah,
I'm
so
waiting for the radical
we got to
views.
take a break for a second.
I'm gonna grab a sweater
Yeah.
We're in the studio with
and a blanket and a
the great actor
I
Brett.
got Snuggies in the car, you guys.
Snuggies, wow.
The great actor Brett Gilbert. You might remember him from the movie Iron Eagle and Iron Eagle 5.
Oh yeah.
Lou Gossett returns, and you're listening to Clean Radio. That's Clean with a K. The number here is 877-830-830. That's 877-830-830. We'll be back in a second.
And she ran to the police station. When the papa found out, he began to shout and he started the investigation. It's again.
Now back to Clean Radio
The Sober Lifestyle Show, presented by Clean Residential Treatment Center.
on Angels Radio AM 830.
Oh, boy. What's that, like the Muhammad Ali one?
Yeah, he's
Right?
working the bag on that one.
That was a
Right?
new move.
It's a new
That
move?
was a suggested move.
Oh, my goodness.
And your mother is hiring me a dance teacher, right? Your dad is actually.
My dad is hiring you a dance teacher?
Yes, your mom offered that.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
You don't read our posts back and forth to each other, do you?
You know, I get inundated from my mother on enough things without also going to a third Facebook page to hear what she has to say.
Your mother's a nice lady. I think you should treat her better.
Wow.
Wow.
I think you should. I think you should visit her more.
There's an intervention going on right here.
She's actually coming to visit next week, Judah, so we can all have lunch.
I'm
and
excited.
You can do an intervention
Why
with
lunch?
me and my mom.
Dinner. P.F. Chang's.
No, because I'm too cheap. You
Okay.
eat too much
Are
at
you
dinner.
dating his mom? Is that what that sounds like?
She's still married.
Yes.
My parents have been married forever.
My
They're
parents.
coming
have,
up on
my
50
parents.
years.
Oh my God. That actually has my parents beat. Who's like 44.
Yeah? Well, I don't know if they're quite at 50.
Isn't it pretty fascinating? Us too, like
that our parents are still together?
You've been married 3 times. I haven't had a relationship over 9 months. But our parents.
Yeah,
have been
which is
married
worse? Which is worse?
76
Which
years.
is worse? Not being able to have a relationship over 9 months or being married 3 times.
Being married 3 times.
Yeah, I'd say be amazing.
Really?
Especially if there's kids
Yeah.
involved. Yeah.
Because
why
you have
one
no
child?
commitment. At
What do
least,
you mean I have no commitment? I made a really big commitment
No,
3 times.
no. Staying married is the commitment part. You sort of
got you there.
right. You sort of made a reservation.
You're the one that wants
Yeah,
definitions.
You made a
Mr.
reservation and
Definition.
didn't keep it.
No, I did. I kept it for 4 years each
Yeah.
time.
You did
It was a 4-year
That's called a
commitment.
stint.
It's a stint.
It's a
Yeah,
stint.
you didn't exactly like.
I made it over halfway through the 7-year stretch.
You've been married for longer than 7 years at one point.
No, I'm saying I
Oh.
made it over halfway through.
You didn't even get the
7-year
itch.
stretch. I think L-Dub got locked outside.
L-Dub got locked outside.
Wow.
Oh, he went out to have a cigarette?
Yeah.
Banana
Oh,
boy. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're a kind soul, Samir. And let's just thank our great video people, because it does take the show. It does take a few people to put on the show, and we have to thank your wife,
Awesome.
Right.
the great, lovely Amy, your third wife, Amy Dresner,
Right.
who has, and our great, Jamie does a great job also booking guests, Jamie B.
That's Jamie B.
And Patrick is one of the best video guys in town. Truly amazing.
Right.
Yeah, he does softcore porn, as he was telling me.
Softcore porn and
Yes.
MMA fights.
And MMA
Well done,
fights
sir.
and
Right?
Clean Radio.
Right? He watches guys beat the hell out of each other, and then girls get it on with each other, and sobriety radio.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
What
then
a
he-
mix.
And then he gets to come in
He's
here and hear
very
us.
well versed.
Right? What a mix. Nobody could write a resume like that. Can you imagine if he had to go out for like a straight job? He'd be like, well, it's a little confusing, but.
Well, in
you know."
Hollywood, he's perfect.
They'd look at softcore porn and be like, wait a minute, we need you.
In Hollywood, it's the perfect resume.
Right? It
Yeah.
is actually. Porn,
It's recovery radio
recovery
and
radio,
MMA.
and MMA. Fighting. Yeah. All he needs to do is now like some prison thing. He'd be fine.
So did you get this time when you got sober? This was your first time.
Yes.
Did you go to rehab or you just went straight to the
No,
A&A?
I didn't go. Yeah, I started doing that. Actually, you guys know Marty Lacquadera, I believe.
Yeah.
you guys
Yeah.
And Marty's been on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a bit, very large influence on me because he was always
Yeah,
talking
cool.
about how sober he was. He never pushed it on me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But he always kind of just led by example. And then when I went on the road with him, it was just like, oh, I just decided, okay, let's just do this.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool to go on the road with someone sober,
Right.
as opposed to like 2 other comics who are just like, let's get high after the show.
Right.
Were they like getting up early, driving you nuts? Is that you're like, oh, I can't take it. I gotta stop drinking.
Did you guys go to meetings together on the road, or?
No, him and I don't think he goes to meetings.
Oh.
To each other.
Yeah.
I think he
does either.
He does a cold turkey, but he. This is how hardcore he is. We did this great show, and we got invited to this guy owns a bar, and that's where all the college kids that went from the show to this bar. And this guy was like such a jerk. He was like, "Hey, you guys got to drink with me." And he pours like these 2 shots of vodka. I'm like, "No, thanks, man. That's all right." And this guy singled out Marty for some reason. I was like, "Come on, just put it to your lips. Just put it to your lips. just touch it to your tongue. Just touch your tongue. That's all you got to do." But Marty was like, "Man, I think anyone else would have decked the guy for being such a jerk." But Marty's like, "No," he played it off. He's like, and that's how long he's been sober and how many times I'm sure he's dealt with that situation before.
We had this Playmate in here.
Yeah.
Or she was Playboy.
Playmate. She writes articles for Playboy.
Well, she was a little.
Oh, that's a big leap.
She was pretty provocative.
And yes, she was, and she had shared a story.
By the way, it was the first time she was sitting where you were, and Judah was inching all night, closer and closer.
She's been a friend
Judah.
of mine for 13 years. Let's preface
Okay, all right,
that.
whatever.
A friend.
Yeah.
Right. By the way, no other shows he inched over. Right?
I don't know. He's getting
And
kind
that
of
is, there you go.
Let's
Okay.
dance. Let's dance.
Okay, we're gonna do the Judah
Wow,
dance.
the Judah dance.
Yeah. And let's welcome back into the studio tonight, L-Dub.
L-Dub, you got
who's-
locked
who
outside?
got locked
What
outside,
happened?
is changing his clothing in the studio.
I went to go get something. I went to get something warmer, and
Is his mic on?
Is this mic
I
on?
don't think it is.
No, his
Yeah.
mic is red. And let's, through the magic of Judah hitting the button, his mic is
Engineer's
on.
on the phone.
No,
Oh,
it's
he's
on
on
now.
You're on.
Oh, there you go.
I went downstairs to get a little warmer and prop the door open to get something out of the car.
Oh, no, the security people came after you.
There was like 18 guys.
We are going to hear
You
about
do
that
look kind of
tomorrow.
sluggish. No,
Just so you know, we're going to hear about that tomorrow.
Yeah,
we
we're
will
going to
be
get
getting
5
an email
emails
tomorrow.
about that.
Well, the
saying-
guy said, "I'm going to be emailing Mike Mean."
Yes.
Wow, Mike Means. Mike Means, who we haven't even met yet. He's like our new rep.
He used to be called Mean Mike, but they changed it.
They softened it.
A lot of people, you got to understand, they're trying to get into Angel Stadium at 11:30 on a Sunday night. It's a very popular thing in Orange County to go streaking in Angel Stadium.
Wow.
For real?
No.
Okay. I don't know.
Totally not.
These crazy Anaheim.
So I apologized
That's okay.
profusely, and I gave him a back rub, and
So
he said
Everything's
that
good?
didn't, he said that didn't change anything.
before we get into your
Except
political,
in his pants.
before we get into your political views, what happened in that when you relapsed in that 6 months in Paris? I mean, what was it that brought you back, and you finally were like, I got to get sober?
Well, it was a long. I had several psychiatric diagnoses that I was unaware of, and among them were clinical depression and PTSD, and they weren't being addressed. And I wasn't going to meetings, and I had, kind of gone overboard in all the things that I was quitting. I thought the aim was just to not put things in you, so I didn't smoke or drink coffee or eat sugar, and I thought that was going to solve the problem. And after about a year, maybe 6 months of no meetings and being in Europe and living with people who drank and smoked and taking a trip through Africa and just constantly being offered hashish and wine and beer, I relented because I had to take care of that awful feeling inside. And I slid further and further into depression. I was thinking about joining the French Foreign Legion.
Wow.
And,
That still exists.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
awesome.
God.
You get French citizenship.
There'd be
if you
no transporter movies without like the French Foreign Legion.
they'll give you an ID. They'll give you a passport with any name you want on it after 5 years.
You get a full new personality,
Really?
and you become it doesn't matter what your background
Absolutely.
is.
What's the equivalent to that in America?
Nothing. CIA,
Yeah.
NSA.
Yeah.
The Witness Protection Program.
Yeah,
I think that's
there you go.
No, we actually have armies.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yes,
social
that was-
You
force.
guys hate the French. Wow.
I'm not. Well,
Do you know how a Frenchman?
You know my last name
do you know
is
how,
Gilbert, right?
Do you know how a Frenchman says hello?
How?
puts his
I think
hands
I,
up.
think I saw that in like
So
grade
bad.
5. That joke.
We actually have a call. Why don't we take our
Yes.
call?
Really?
We have a call. We got Ashley from Los Angeles. Ashley, you're on the KLEAN Radio. How are you? Can you hear us?
Ashley.
Ashley, you're on the radio.
Hi, guys.
Hey,
How's it
Ashley.
going?
I have a question for. Hi, Judah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We know each other.
Judah's got a fan. Wow.
How do we?
Wow.
I start sweating as I'm listening.
You
Like,
got a
ooh.
stalker on AM radio. That's awesome. Has that ever been done?
That's a new one.
I know.
I don't know if necessarily stalker is the right word, but I want to know.
Wishful
I'm sorry, you're not
thinking.
good enough.
She's an avoider.
Like all my fans. Yes, Ashley.
I want to know more about LW and how he stays sober every day.
Yeah, well, that's a question
Wow.
for Judah.
And I want to
about
know if protein shakes have anything to do with it.
Does this
LW?
actually know LW, I'm guessing?
I guess so. Must know that he
He's
likes
such a
protein.
fan.
No.
I have fans.
I stalk him. I don't stalk Judah, but I do stalk LW.
Wow, poor Judah. He looks just distraught.
I'm trying to figure out who this is, but
He's
yes.
devastated.
Answer how you stay sober on a daily basis, L-Dub.
I go to a lot of meetings. I drink a lot of protein shakes. And
That sounds so
Is
wrong.
that a euphemism?
Chocolate and peanut
I want to
butter.
know.
I
Is that
know.
code for something? I eat a lot of protein shakes during
you
the
know,
parade.
I like being sober, and I do what I can to keep it fresh and to remember that what it was like when I wasn't sober. And I work with a lot of people who are trying to get clean and sober. And
Any crazy women?
a couple.
Yeah?
I've come
How's that
across
going?
I think she's leading into a certain celebrity.
Are you going somewhere with this?
Yeah.
I was just curious.
She's not hiding it at all.
Well, there goes this other. I mean, Ashley's actually talking about a topic that isn't discussed enough is men with the. You constantly hear the men with the men, the women with the women, but I've never read that in any of the literature.
Yes, I agree.
Well, I could
well,
tell
it
you.
has a purpose. I personally think it has. There's a reason. Unfortunately,
It's called sexual
weird,
predation.
awkward things have happened, and
Yes.
people have gotten their feelings hurt, and I think that's probably where that saying came from. But
In
Yeah,
the
it go-
psychiatric world, we call it negative transference.
Yes.
It goes south
Or
with
creepers.
that more often than not. And especially in a room full of people who haven't worked on their issues
right.
and have all kinds of issues, it's probably not a good idea. I've sponsored several women, and I don't enjoy it anymore, and I usually say no. But, I had to be an iconoclast. I had to go out there and, be free and, not have any bias and go against the, what do they call it? Common wisdom or common...
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why not?
whatever.
We'll go with common wisdom.
All right.
Well, I'm really.
We could edit this
really
in post.
We'll pull up what's called a dictionary, Judah.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, there we go. Here we go.
And I'm the one here that went to Cornell. But anyways, let's get back to L-Dubs. So you go to
Okay,
meet.
well, I'm gonna go now, but you guys are so adorable.
Thank you
thank
kindly,
you.
Ashley.
Aw.
Please
Thanks for
call
calling
again. And I will figure out how I know you after the call.
You guys are adorable. Look at that.
Adorable from Ashley.
Adorable and cute.
Wow. Yeah, she must not have seen the video.
Or seen or seen what.
Strictly a radio listener.
So what happened in that 6 months? What happened in that 6 months?
In that 6 months, so the little house of cards I built started to crumble first with like coffee and then sugar. And then I wasn't having sex when I left the States, and I started having sex again. And, little by little, there was this false sense of comfort in controlling what I put in my body and what I did. And I thought that was the be-all and the end-all. And I wanted to be, sober the longest of anybody in the room. And I wanted to put the least amount of mind-altering substances, because there's that double standard. You can't smoke weed, but you can drink as much coffee and sugar as you want. And it's not ever addressed. It wasn't clear to me.
Not to mention, smoking cigarettes, right? It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It wasn't clear to me what was going on, and so I was all about just not putting things in my body, chemicals and mind-altering things, and I wasn't treating the disease.
That was weird. What was that?
There was some odd noise.
Was there a
Was that from their booth?
Yeah.
Was that in the booth? What
That
was
was,
that?
I don't know. I think that was like.
So it sort of wasn't.
Someone's hungry.
You sort
Someone's-
what you're saying, it wasn't
Too many
internalized.
protein shakes.
We're all just like, should we address that? Did the audience hear that?
Nothing like 4 guys like were drinking protein shakes in a booth.
And bananas, protein shakes and bananas.
So some of the issues weren't being addressed, and they manifested. And I did what alcoholics do when they're uncomfortable for long enough, and I medicated, and I couldn't stop. And it wasn't all bad. I didn't go to jail. I had a couple fights, but I can't stop. And I go to work loaded, and I wake up and I think about getting loaded, and I do a lot of stupid stuff. And it ended up with me going to the French Foreign Legion, to the fort outside of Paris, a few times a week, couple times a week, and putting my foot in and out, finding out what they needed, and they were just like, just bring your passport and a shaving kit, we'll take you.
Wow.
I was like, really?
And they take any nationality? You don't have to be
Yeah,
French?
no, anybody. Yeah.
Hence
it's
the
the
word
foreign
foreign.
legion, hence the
Foreign.
They
foreign
don't check your
legion.
background.
Yeah.
So like people that have like committed
Like
murder.
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff.
it's a great
it's
place
mercenaries,
if
yeah.
you decide to go and
Like, so you
run.
just killed someone,
Yes.
Yes.
and you're on the lam.
Most
go
of
to
the
the French
people,
Foreign
most of the
Legion.
people in the French Foreign Legion,
Are psychotic.
have done
yeah,
really bad
sociopaths.
stuff.
So
Yeah.
you're basically joining a voluntary
Yes.
prison.
Yeah, but they will wash
Yeah.
you out hard.
Yeah, like every movie you've ever seen where the bad guys are mercenaries. It's sort of all based on like Foreign Legion type
Yeah.
people.
Wow.
Yeah, those people are real.
Kind of like the YMCA here.
Yeah, right.
Late night. Late night.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening, every French person I talked to said, this is a horrible idea. You're not in your right mind. You're wasted. You need to get sober before you think about this. And I came back to L.A. This weird series of circumstances. I had an expensive bicycle at this youth hostel I lived at. It got stolen. They graciously, a socialist country, they said, we'll pay for it. And they gave me $1,000, and that was money to come back to L.A. And I got sober again in 1992, and it was not easy. I didn't like it. I didn't want to be here, and I hung on to this old dude. I told some old timer that I didn't enjoy being sober, and I wasn't feeling God, and I hated the meetings. And he said, me too. I was like, really? Well, what do you do? He goes, I just keep going.
Just keep on keeping on.
Yeah, and as disappointing as that information was, because I was waiting for like a magic
Right.
abracadabra, some tablets that only he could see or something like that. And it encouraged me. And, I hung around for 2 years, and it got better. It got better, and I stayed sober, and I felt God again and started getting into it.
It's a good story.
Perseverance.
So
Perseverance.
what's
Now, I
your
love the
radical
story
views?
of-
I want to hear
well,
the radical views.
You've already heard them, sort of. He's
not really.
he's probably more conservative than I am.
Well, do you think you should? Do you think we should legalize all drugs, like
Yeah.
we were talking before?
Yes, I think all drugs and prostitution should be legalized, and the system should just be able to weed itself out without
Survival of the fittest.
Yes, basically. I don't think that people who don't have common sense or a sense of self-preservation should be allowed to breed. So
Wow.
So, no, I don't. I'm
It's
not
called
saying,
eugenics.
no.
Oh, you and your fancy words.
I think it's actually called Dianetics.
It's not.
Oh, careful. I don't think the show has a legal team.
Yeah, right. Does now.
It's not eugenics, because I don't think that the state should have any part in not allowing them to breed. They will just die naturally.
Right.
Right.
But as we rescue them and allow them to go back into society and rescue them time and again and give them money to support themselves, I think they're allowed to make children and not only pass on their genes, but their values and their ideas about what's okay and what work is and what a family is. And part of the reason that the society's so broken up is that people usually have more than one child, and this dysfunction expands exponentially. You have more than one child, and those children go out and make babies, and they perpetrate the same madness.
Yeah.
So I just think that people should be allowed to solve their own problems for the most part.
So you're sort of against Canada's system,
What's
which
Canada?
would be
What the what is Canada's system?
Canada's system is that they allow you to use in those places.
You mean the metric system?
No, Canada.
We're talking about public health model.
Public health model where they allow you to shoot up.
Shooting galleries.
Shooting galleries where they give you nurses.
Because they feel it's safer and there's less damage.
Needle exchange.
The needle exchange. No, they actually have
shooting
buildings,
galleries.
Tons of buildings where people
Does it
can
work?
go.
Does it work?
Yeah, it stops people from overdosing.
Yeah, but it doesn't stop them from using.
It doesn't stop them from using.
That's a good first step.
If you've been up there, you see there's areas that are really
Vancouver,
really
BC.
sketchy and yucky, and I mean, I suppose it's better than what we're doing down here, but maybe if people there are countries where they just don't it's not dealt with, and you grow up and you know that that's a bad idea, and you know from your parents, you watch them, they model the correct behavior. We send our children. There was a guy at I have another job as a lighting technician in movies and TV, and it's a very blue collar job, and I get into these talks with cats, and this guy was like, I don't want them teaching about gay marriage in school.
All right.
And I said, well, what do you care whether they teach gay marriage? And he said, well, I don't want my kid wanting to marry some dude, or, what's next? He'll marry a dog? I don't want them teaching my kid gay values. And I said, well, why are they learning values at school? Why
It'd be great if somebody just turned on the radio as L-Dub was saying.
I think some rednecks out there.
Right.
And just as teaching my boy.
Maybe you just turn on AM 830 at that point. You come on.
My name's LW, and I don't want you marrying a dog.
Gay's a gateway drug that married a dog.
We're in the studio tonight with sober companion and lighting technician extraordinaire L-Dub.
Right, and views on marrying dogs.
With and eugenics. And the great comic actor Brett Gilbert.
And what movie was I in?
Star of Home Alone 6.
Home Alone 6.
Macaulay was unavailable.
Wow. That's terrible.
My resume is getting bigger.
Right? That's a great title, though.
Home Alone 6.
Macaulay was unavailable.
Wow.
And you're listening to Clean Radio.
House sitting from Macaulay.
Right. No, it could actually be a combo. It could be L-Dub, his companion.
Right. No, he's the guy breaking in.
Right.
Hey, look at him.
Macaulay's drunk. I'm watching his stuff. All right, we're going to go out on a break here.
And you're listening to Clean Radio. That's Clean with a K. The number here is 877-8830-830. That's 877-830-830. We'll be right back after this. Or as Andrew says, right black.
Right back.
Extended version of Scarface.
Right?
Yeah. My block.
Yeah.
For the block boy.
Well,
we're black.
We're black.
We're black.
Welcome black. Welcome black.
Welcome black.
If you turn on the radio at any different points in the night, first you're like, what? First you think I'm listening to like some crazy conservative talk guy.
Right.
With like Rick Santorum's like
Which would
point
be true,
of views.
because we have Judah here.
And yes, that is true.
And you are crazy.
I am crazy.
And you are conservative.
And very handsome and debonair.
Or whatever.
But only with the hat on, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
White
actually given
beanie.
by a good friend of ours named who used to work at the station here, named Rand DeWitt.
He's a very generous gentleman.
He was a very generous gentleman. This is my 35th birthday present.
He gave you 35 birthday presents?
Yes, he did. My angel's yarmulke.
My angels.
And
That's kind of extensive. What kind of relationship did you have with him?
we were very close. We still are.
Yeah,
it's a very codependent
very strange.
relationship. Yes.
Judah tends to form these like overly enmeshed relationships.
That's because
Any of them with women?
every once in a while.
Never.
every once in a while.
He goes to
Andrew
those
can't even
phases.
be in denial about it.
You just said you haven't had a relationship longer than 9 months. How old are you now?
35.
Yeah, and you're talking about.
I say 9 months. It's a year probably. But
I say it's 6 months. 6 months.
Probably,
an extra quarter in the business world.
I usually say 9 inches.
They were probably usually 8 months too long. So Al, we'll ask that question to you: is it better to have been married 3 times,
Oh, here we go.
or
This
to
is a
have
big
been
debate for the
and
night.
have been in a relationship no longer than a year?
Is it better to have been married 3 times? How long were you married for?
No, it's Andrew.
I'm on my 3rd marriage. So the debate is it better to have been married 3 times?
We sound very Shakespearean with these questions.
or-
Is it better
right.
to have been married 3 times?
Well,
I got
what
a
is this?
snort out of you.
A Seder?
Yes. Let's get back to a little bit about though addiction and recovery. We have 15 minutes to go,
Right.
and we're in the studio with somebody. Are you showing me your phone?
No.
It's a very nice phone.
Thank you.
We're in the phone with somebody that actually sobriety I actually do look up to. He's sober 20 years, almost 20 years. Fantastic speaker. What's been the hardest thing lately? What's been the hardest thing?
I think the hardest thing for some long-term sobriety people is this pedestal that ends up under your feet unintentionally.
You mean because people look at you and go, "Oh, you."
People look up to you, and some of it is self-imposed, I'm sure, and you get to feel. It was so easy to tell everybody all my secrets when I was a nothing, when I was dirty and scraggly, and I had nothing to lose. I had nothing to lose when I got here. Now I got stuff to lose.
Yeah.
And it's spooky, and I don't want to lose it. And sometimes you really have to work that 3rd step. And remember, you're just the custodian. All you're doing is watching it.
Right.
It's not your stuff to begin with. And I forget, and I want to hang on to it. And I like sometimes the status that you get from not using for a long time.
3 wives will teach you about that 3rd step.
About humility?
Yeah.
It's true.
The 2 you lose will definitely tell you you're only a custodian.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
And so the hardest thing has been to remain transparent and to be honest, and to just be myself and not judge where I'm at in life.
It is a kind of strange thing though with AA that if you've been sober for a long time you get like this guru kind of status.
Well, you get 2 things. You could get 2 things. You could get the guru status, or you could get the we don't need to worry about him. He's sober 19.
Yeah.
He's sober 19 years. He doesn't have any problems.
Yeah,
he's got it.
He's still working too.
And then he offs himself.
Yeah, and then he offs himself. And I think that's one of the hardest things about people with long.
Well, that's pride, right? Where people get too much pride and then they can't talk about issues that are really going on because they feel, they've got to keep up this image that they
got it all together. Yeah. That they're sober.
An overly intense involvement with your image.
Yeah.
Well, we call that narcissism.
What's the reverse though? Isn't there something else? Because you're not at that
Low
point.
self-esteem.
Right. Because at that point you're not looking for other people to prop you up. You're almost looking to be exposed.
Right. Well,
I mean, how many times have you had an issue come up where you want somebody to go to you? Man, I see through you. I know you're going through a rough time. Just cop to it.
Well, I don't want anybody to do that. There's like a select few people that I don't want to be exposed unintentionally, and I don't want to be exposed publicly. I want to be exposed. I have people I go to that I share my stuff with.
I love exposing myself publicly.
I knew that was coming. Right? Yeah.
That's why you brought me here.
That's why we have a comedian in the room.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
He's on the upcoming Home Alone 7.
Yeah, Macaulay gets exposed to.
Right. Wow, poor Brett. He's actually been in real movies, real TV shows, and everybody listening thinks he's like some fake actor now.
You know what's funny is
fine.
you know what's funny is I mean, no, he really hasn't. I mean, he's been in those movies that you like want to root for him. You want to go, oh, that's Macaulay showing his acting chops. But who really remembers them?
What?
Name me a Macaulay Culkin movie since Home Alone.
This Home Alone. Oh,
Since Home Alone.
Oh, he was in that Jesus movie.
No, he was
there.
in the one with Marilyn Manson.
You
with,
can't name the name. Is my point.
Party
Party Animal.
Party. It wasn't
Party Animal. I think it was Party Animal.
And he was,
This is my point.
what about the movie with the girl? He was with the little girl, and they had a little date or something, and they fell in love.
Oh, My Girl.
Yeah.
My Girl. There you go. There's two.
Thank you.
My Girl might have been in the between the Home Alone one.
Yeah, that's what
too.
I'm thinking. Yeah, that was
that was like
Home
still when
Alone
he was
1 and
hot.
And I thought Party Animal was pretty good. I mean, the book was better, but
Props to Macaulay. But let's get back. I think that's something we're talking about. That's something that's very interesting. It's something when it's. I've encountered this. The longer you stay sober, the more people don't think, problems you're going to encounter, and it's harder to share. The longer you stay sober, the harder it is sometimes to share. You go, I have 11 years sober and I got problems. It's and I think a lot of people with time do go out. They do kill themselves. They do that stuff because of fear.
I think it's because of pride.
Pride, yeah.
I think that you can't pin it on one thing.
Well, I'm not trying to.
Yeah, and I think that those things do come into play, and there is a certain expectation in the rooms that this 11-year guy is. Hey, handle your shit.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's okay.
You can't say that on AM?
We got you now. We follow the Carlin rules.
All right. So,
Wow.
balance is key, and working with others. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is pretty strong about working with others, and there's a reason for that. That it keeps you. It affects you on so many different levels. It keeps you humble. It keeps the whole addiction aspect fresh in your mind. I'll forget why I got clean and sober. I'll have no recollection of it if I stay away from meetings long enough.
When do you think somebody's really ready to get sober? Do you think that anybody can always be approached and then, be convinced that it's a good time to clean up, or do you think people have to really bottom out on their own first?
I think that they have to bottom out, but that bottom varies from person to person. Their own stamina and their own psyche.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they have to come to that
So have you ever
conclusion.
been asked to work with someone and you just know there's no point in working with them?
Many times.
Many times. So how do you deal with that? It's got to be frustrating.
It was frustrating in the beginning when I felt like I had a mission and it was my job to get that across to them and make them have that realization.
Right.
When I grew up a little bit and I realized that I can't make someone have a revelation about where they're at. I can simply model sober behavior. I can plant seeds. Sometimes those seeds sprout quicker than others. But usually when I eliminate my expectation about what the work I do, what the results are going to be, I'm much happier. Many times, several times, people have come to me months or years later and said, the work that we did together always stayed with me, and I thought about that as I was drinking and using, and I came to a point, and I remembered what you said, and and I'm here. I think that you really run a risk of blowing a good opportunity if you push too strong too soon.
Yeah, there's a common thing in therapy, and a lot of people that come to my treatment center, they look at the schedule and they're like, oh, how many sessions am I going to get with a therapist? And one of the first things I always tell family members, a lot happens between the therapy sessions. The therapy sessions is where they get to
the
speak,
aha moment, right?
and they get to they get to hear something. But it's while they're sitting in their room alone.
Or sitting in the courtyard smoking with the other.
A lot of the work happens. It's where they actually get a chance to process it, and maybe it might hit them, maybe it might
in
not.
In the shower or something.
Right,
yeah.
I used to have a drug counselor in Israel who would, our whole sessions, literally hours of sessions were us playing Rummy 500. And every once in a while he'd go, so Friedman, this 4-step, we're going to talk about it today? And every once in a while, he would do that. He would start integrating just steps at a time.
Well, I can see why you drank, dude.
And but it worked. It worked. It was
That's awesome.
He used to say to me, he looked like Charles Manson, and he used to go to me,
Right.
"You're gonna go out. You're gonna drink again." He goes, "But every time you do, you're gonna see my ugly face." And for years,
Your ugly face?
Yes, I would see myself. I would sort of see my reflection, but
he's a glass bottle.
But wow, I'm getting beat up tonight.
I know, it's fantastic. It's like the best of Judah.
You know what it is? You know what it is? Because I'm okay and I don't have to give it back. So you guys are I'm sort of letting you guys do it.
I see.
And I'm
now that we're getting the guilt trip.
Yes, I'm not commenting
Right.
I'm able to just.
Not commenting on what? That you're not commenting on.
I'm able to be a bigger man.
He's trying to draw it out. Look at that. He's using his psychology on you. You're using your psychology for evil. That's what that was.
That's what he's known as.
You're a horrible superhero.
He's known as.
I'm the nemesis.
He's Dr. Evil. He's the guy that gives people drugs so they get clean. Totally a joke. They never said that. But
you heard it here on AM 830.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's important. You don't have to shove it down people. You know, you were talking about with Mike, with Marty LaCroix. How Lookadoo, however you pronounce his last name.
Who's in Schindler's List too?
Yeah, right. How he would never push it down.
This time it's personal.
The list has been found.
But how he never pushed sobriety down your mouth.
The pages
he
were
would
stuck
talk to
together.
you about it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And then you got sober with him on the road.
Yeah, and he has all these great war stories that I was just like, wow, I've never gone through that, so I'm
still on Schindler's List too. Like, you know, there was another side.
There was a whole other list
on the other side of the paper. Like, turn it over.
It's just a grocery list.
Just so you know, the AFL-CIO will be calling you soon.
Yeah. Oh man.
But that's a good question. There's a lot. This is a really good topic about whether you can raise the bottom for people.
Well, Bill Wilson spoke about that. We can't. I mean,
Well,
that
that's
was
what
one
they try
of
to
his
do with
things.
interventions, isn't it?
And it works with mixed results, I think. I see, you know, you working in the treatment industry, you see a lot of it going on, and it has varying results. I think certain things need to be in place for the bottom to be raised up, and if certain things don't change, you can raise the bottom until they're, you know, it's up to their neck.
Yeah, I still think at the end of the day, it's up to the person. They have to choose, make a decision.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I think they have to have their own moment of
Which
clarity.
goes to what you were saying before. We constantly give excuses for people, and in the end of the day, it does come down to you, whether you want to be sober, whether you want to get sober.
But I also
and
think it's
stay
a
sober.
process, and I think that, you know, LW, you're correct, that when the person hears the message may not be when they get sober.
You can assist them in that process.
Well, our show's actually winding up here, guys.
Yes.
I can't believe we're kind of like, you know,
It went
at
very
the
quick
end of the
tonight.
show again.
It went
did.
very
We got
quick
30
tonight.
seconds. So let's let Brett here give us some plugs, some real plugs.
Yeah.
Not Home Alone 17.
Grown up and out of the house.
Right? So, Brett?
I'll be at the Flappers Comedy Club June 23rd, starting the Shameless Sellouts comedy tour.
Excellent.
Yep.
And you got a webpage, or?
We do, shamelesssellouts.com.
A little slower.
Shameless
Right.
sellouts.com.
You're being brought out to like.
And you can
Matchbox
check that out on
20.
our Facebook page or at KLEANradio.com.
Yeah.
And LW, you got a little plug for yourself?
No, I don't have any plug. Just everybody take good care of yourselves and be nice to each other.
That's
beautiful.
Excellent. What a nice way to end the show.
Wow, that's heartfelt
Very
and
cool.
stuff.
And I'll be in therapy all week from the abuse I took on the show this week.
You're always in therapy, Judah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Nothing will change.
And that's true. I'll just need an extra session.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, thank you, listeners. It's been a great time at Clean Radio, and check us out at KLEANradio.com.
That's Clean with a K.
Clean with a K.
And Andrew and I will be appearing all week long at the Clean Center.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's give ourselves plugs.
Making numerous appearances.
Yes.
And thank you guys for having me on the show.
Oh, you're all
You got
welcome.
it. God bless.
Thanks for having me, guys.
know it's wrong.